3BC.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 3BC. This is Joy, and my 3BCs are here again today. Chloe, KC the Alchemist, and one solo. Today, we have a special guest with us, Bari Williams, and Bari is a tech exec, a tech attorney, diversity activist, speaker, and author of the book Diversity in the Workplace, Eye-Opening Interviews to Jumpstart Conversations about, I can't read my identity, privilege, and bias. I was writing fast. My scribbles. Sorry, Bari. So again, diversity in the workplace, eye-opening interviews to jumpstart conversations about identity, privilege, and bias. Welcome to 3BC, Bari.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking some time to sit with us today. We have a lot to talk about because generally we ain't got no privacy right now. So we want to talk about that and how to mitigate and manage that. There's quite a few questions surrounding that from the ladies around this table. Casey, you want to jump in first?
Bari, can you just tell us a little bit, when we see things online, creating accounts on websites, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, or even just signing documents for our cell phones and things like that, we don't really go through the terms and conditions or the privacy policies. Can you just expand on why that's terrible?
Yeah, it's awful. So, and I can tell you that because I'm the person who writes this stuff. And I literally say I'm the person that writes scroll, accept. Because people don't read it. They just sign up for something. And the thing that I always tell people to look at is, particularly if you're putting apps on your phone, what is the information that they're collecting? What are the permissions that they want? Like if this is, an app for food delivery, why do you need access to my camera? Mm-hmm. You don't. Mm-hmm. So it's looking at what the information that they're going to collect, how they're going to use it, and what are the permissions that they're asking for. I always tell people, like, if you don't do anything else, it's literally look at the permissions that the app is asking for. And if it's not relevant to the service, mm-hmm. I would find another service. Like, there's literally no reason why, Grubhub needs access to your contacts and your camera. Like, why do you need to know my mom's home address for me to get food delivery? You don't.
Is that our only option when we deal with that? Is, we don't have the option to opt out any of that, do we?
Nope. And so the thing is, you have to make sure that when you see stuff like that, it's like, okay, well, can I go find a service that will still give me what I'm looking for, but doesn't need these additional permissions and access?
And what about on websites collecting information with cookies? I sometimes manage, I think in my mind, to sidestep it. I'll just scroll around it without clicking, mm-hmm. Opting in to them collecting my data. Are they still collecting my data?
They probably still have it somewhere.
Yeah.
And I always I try to tell people to remember that the internet is written in ink and not pencil. Mm-hmm. So wherever you're going and scrolling, yes, there are certain things that you can do to opt out and have certain, like if you choose to not have cookies. The problem is, like, once you say, oh, I don't want cookies, but then they make you go and read something else that tells you what are the things you can and can't opt into. And people usually get tired about 30 seconds into reading that, and they just say, never mind.
That's facts.
Mm-hmm. And I know because I write it, but I try to write the way that I write terms and conditions and privacy policies are in plain English. And the reason being is because I want particularly people in marginalized communities to know what you're signing up for. And I've said this before to other people. I have my mom read something and she's 69, and I have my 9-year-old read it. And if neither of them understand it, then I start over.
It's too complex.
Wow.
So Bari, let's talk about this ink
and cookies and trails. Because in my head, I be on, when I'm in my incognito tab, looking at Pornhub. I thought it was wrote in pencil.
Your business.
So are you trying to tell me it's not? And so what does it mean when we think we're going to the most private parts of the interwebs? And
yeah, I mean,
and if you clear your cache, like this clearing your cache works to add on to that.
I mean, you can clear your cache, but like they still have the history if you already, like in your ISP, like, so they know where you are, what you looked at. Like I could actually have my husband come in here and tell y'all about how incognito tab works because he works at Google. but I mean, I would say it's almost like, I feel like every Black girl was like, just, be mindful of what you're doing in public. So just think of the internet as public.
Right. I would agree with you. I used to use a Google search app to find things on my computer that if I wanted to find a file. Mm-hmm. And this was probably almost 10 years ago. And I realized it was finding things that I thought I had, deleted from my cache.
Because you thought,
emails,
you thought you cleared your cache.
Everything. Right. It was helpful for a couple of my friends that were looking for stuff on their men, but outside of that, it was kind of scary. The things that can still be found that you think are easily erased, even taking pictures.
Well, and not even just that.
Info.
It's the other things that people don't think about, like your old email addresses. If you never went and deleted those things, like there's still a repository of all of that, which is fine if you don't use the email address. But it's just the point of like people go and leave paper trails and don't realize that they left these paper trails. Like all your old AOL emails, when you were on Black Planet, when you were like all that stuff.
Oh, Black Planet is old school.
Right. But I'm saying, like, people don't realize that you Hotmail, your AOL accounts, your Yahoo, before you got a Gmail, all of that stuff. Like, go back, and if you're not using the account, deactivate it. Like, forward whatever it is that you need to whatever email address you're using now, and then deactivate the account.
So what about stuff like Black Planet, though? Let's go back to Black Planet. I was a young girl then.
I could literally tell you the profile picture I had on Black Planet, too.
Oh, my God. Let me tell y'all, I'm going to give y'all a funny. My name on Black Planet was Memphalicious.
I'm going to spit out my drink.
Okay, but how about
that sound right?
Because I like putting
it does sound right
to everything.
That sound right.
I'm like, Alicious makes
right.
everything sound good.
It's right. But
Alicious. I need that on the shirt.
Let's just say Memphalicious is still floating around. I mean, Black Planet has been dead, so
yeah. But if you didn't
Memphalicious die with
the account, no. I mean, no, because I think I'm trying to remember, and you could probably Google it to fact check me, but I'm pretty sure Black Planet got sold to someone else. And so even if you don't use that account, whoever purchased that has that information.
Wow.
Somebody get me Omar Wasal's number stat, please. I need to call him. We need to have a chat. No, it wasn't that serious, but still. I think Memphalicious should die with Black Planet.
No, because Black Planet didn't die.
That's right.
I can't believe people listen. Well, anyway,
if you think about it, I mean, you could probably still find stuff on MySpace that people wrote.
Okay, and the perfect example.
The
perfect example of this. Somebody literally, I feel like I don't know what the time space continuum is anymore. But this might have been 6 months ago, might have been a year ago, but somebody literally dug up Kevin Durant's old MySpace when he was in high school and put it on Twitter.
Oh my God.
Like that stuff is still out there. And it was hilarious the way he had described himself. Because he was like 16.
Oh my Lord.
So,
but you know what? People also got time. I mean, even pre-Rona, people got time.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like if you do not go through and deactivate these accounts and like people will find the time to go dig up your
They
MySpace
do.
when you were 16 that says you looking for a shorty to kick it with. Like that's
And
literally
use it
what
for
it said.
identity theft, because I've had identity theft and they went through emails I don't use, but there was still
Exactly.
old info in there that they used. And you'd be
Yeah.
amazed at how they will sell even your old email addresses and things on the dark web. So
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
100% behind you on that one. What are some of the things people give up they aren't aware they're giving up? I know you mentioned that you should deactivate your accounts, or you may be giving up family information. What other kinds of things are people giving up that they aren't paying attention to?
Well, the first thing I would say is that I think probably over the last 2 years, the people are becoming more aware of it. But the prior 10 years, people were giving up anything. They were giving up information for convenience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can't undo that.
Right.
So it's like I did a talk. Oh man, when was that? Last year? Yeah, last year, literally at this time, at a conference. And I was saying, like, you know, people are out here with clear accounts. They scan your iris. You're giving up biometric data to get through airport security faster.
Right.
And there was a executive from Clear in the audience, and he came up. He literally found me at dinner that night and was like, "So, you know, can we talk about this?" And I was like, "And I'm guilty too. I have a Clear account, but also I'm fine with that because, like, I don't have an arrest record. So I don't know what you're going to do with that. There are trade-offs where you think about,
Yeah.
okay, do I want to give you this information for this convenience? What would happen if I did?" The other thing that people have been doing, and I did it too, but I went through the entire privacy policy in terms of service. People are out here signing up for 23andMe and
We
Ancestry.
just talked about that.
And
Yeah.
like, great. Now you spit in a tube and they literally have your DNA.
So
Like-
should we not do that? Because I got us all
No.
Ancestry DNA for Christmas. Me, my mom, and my daughter.
You
And it's
go-
still sitting on the shelf because I got spooked.
Well, and you can go through and read the privacy policy, and what I did was read it and then like saw what the exemptions were in order to make sure you don't sell this or you don't give it away or it doesn't enter a criminal database. But I'm a lawyer. Most people are not going to read all that.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
But that's how they found the Golden Gate or
Yeah, that's how they
Sagittarius
found
No,
whatever
that
killer.
was a different company, and that privacy policy was trash because I read that one.
Right,
But
but the theory of I didn't sign up for it. My cousin's cousin did. And
Right.
those mugs
And that's
that
why
went in the database.
Exactly. And that's why I say, like, there are things that you need to read when you're going through this stuff because other people are opting you in and you don't without your knowledge or consent.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
for
DNA
me-
is not a 100% exact.
Yeah.
People think it is. It's
Yeah.
it's darn good, but it's not
Yeah, it's not 100%.
100% accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are some things that like I'm a very I got Facebook, I got all the social media stuff, but I'm gonna have to draw the line in my blood, in my DNA, in my cells.
Well, and that's the thing though, is like sometimes that stuff is okay if you act, but if you're going to take the time to read it and learn how to opt yourself out of the other stuff that they would do with it if you didn't read it. So
Right.
like for me, we did it because we were taking my son during spring break. We took him to the Blacksonian. But we did a DNA test, me, my husband, my mom, and my son, because I wanted him to understand why we're going here. Turns out my husband is like 53% white. And my mom was like, you've been in an interracial marriage this entire time and you didn't know.
They say a lot of men are more European than
Well,
we think.
I think he was, and then I think he was 45% black. And then when my mom's results came in the next day, hers were 44, and he was like, "Oh, do you still have jokes?" Because I'm technically blacker. But it's wild. Like my son, like I share things about him all the time on Twitter. Like he is browner than I am, and that child came back 54% African, and I came back 62%. And I'm like, genes are weird.
Yeah, they are weird, and that's a good place to dovetail into facial recognition technology too. With as we talked about Clear, there was an article. Well, people have been talking about it, but there's an article as well in the Washington Post about the BLM movement and facial rec technology. What do we say about that? Because that is a lot of things. That's a lot to unpack right there. And there is just 11,000 ways that can go wrong.
Right. And that's why when I bring this up in terms of like, again, if you're not reading the terms and conditions and the privacy policy of some of this stuff, they will sell your information to another party. So then it's like, okay, I did Ancestry DNA. I didn't read anything. So you can sell my information to third party data. I have Clear. So now you have my biometric data with my eye. Now it's facial recognition technology. I had to board a flight last year at SFO, and they were like, we want to scan your face to board. And I was like, absolutely the hell no. Just take the boarding pass and here's my ID and you can look at it. I'm not doing that.
So what about scanning your fingerprint?
Well, I have to do that in order to keep my bar license. So
okay.
Yeah,
I have it on my
phone. To do that for a lot.
Yeah, like California, you have to get fingerprinted every so often to keep your bar license because they want to check it against criminal records and everything else, which fine, but that's mandatory. If it was optional, I would not do that. But
you know what? And I realize I do it to open up my computer.
Oh, you use the Apple Touch?
I'm like, no, I have I don't have.
That's the other thing is like with
I didn't think about it.
iPhones, and you use and people use the face match in order to get. And I'm like, I'm not
and
doing.
I hate it.
You're gonna take this fingerprint and like it.
Or you just gonna have me type in a passcode.
You're gonna type in
a passcode.
But you know what? The bigger issue also becomes that they have a good accurately matching people of color, women with the facial rec. A lot of mistakes there with people of color and women. So that's the bigger issue.
Because they don't
all black people look alike.
Yeah, they don't accurately detect us. That was part of what I talked about in that same talk about Clear was Amazon's. So Google in 2015, they were trying out facial recognition technology and it identified black people as gorillas. And then right, because awesome.
That sounds wonderful.
And then last year when I was talking about this, Amazon misidentified members of the Congressional Black Caucus as criminals, like in a criminal database. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, positive, at least they're human.
That's a step up from gorillas, probably.
But
like if your forehead slopes or if your eyes are too far apart, that old mythology that they tried to back up with pseudoscience back in, how a criminal looks with sloped forehead, eyes or whatever. So that just is a throwback.
But you think about how many people could be placed in jail based on that technology because someone did a scan. Let's say they're looking for somebody and they're doing a scan in the crowd and you just happen to look like this person and then you're arrested, or they say, or maybe you changed how you look or something, and they could still hold you until they verify, oh, it's not you. So you could
or harm you.
Yeah, or harm you, and you could be arrested and have to sit in a holding cell until they figure it all out.
Yeah. And the other piece of that is, one, they're going to misidentify you. But also now you gave away your DNA when you spit into the little tube for Ancestry, and they got your biometric data from Clear. Also, everybody, like credit bureaus, they sell all that information. And so for me, the bigger issue is around how somebody can aggregate all of that. And they know your credit score, they know what you look like, they can have your DNA. And it's like, oh, okay, well, you show up. This is the example I gave in that same talk, is like, you show up to a hospital and you broke your arm, they can look at your credit score, see that you're not currently employed, know what you look like, and then they'll be like, we're not going to service you because you can't pay. Like, that to me is where that could go. And that's scarier because you have all this information. You also combine it with machine learning and AI, and that is determining your credit score. That is determining what you can and can't afford if you're trying to buy a house or a mortgage. It's admissions to schools. It's all of those things. And it's based on historical data. And so I did congressional testimony about this before. It's like, if you're basing what my credit score should be on 1963 data, that's redlining.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So you're going to tell me I can't afford something when I could afford it, but you're going to think that I can't because you're using a data set literally from 1963.
And it's being misused for purposes of confirmation bias.
Well, and sometimes I try to give a measure of grace. Like, sometimes people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
But the problem is they also don't ask.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the larger problem. That is very true. Well, Bari, we're going to have to wrap up our interview with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Get the book. We didn't get a chance to. We got so wrapped up in facial technology and Clear and Ancestry, DNA, and all this stuff. We didn't get a chance to talk about the book. But let me properly shout out the book. Bari Williams is the author of Diversity in the Workplace: Eye-Opening Interviews to Jumpstart Conversations About Identity, Privilege, and Bias. Definitely get the book. It's on all platforms. And follow her on Twitter. What's your Twitter again, Bari?
It's at Bari A. Williams, all one word.
And she came to KC's attention because she had a little kerfuffle about the Fire Festival. So y'all, that's a whole nother story.
Look, I mean,
classic clapback.
I was trying to help him. Like, I was like, just put
the people don't want help
down. Like, you literally, it was like one of those memes, like, nobody. Ja Rule. I didn't get arrested for that. And it's like, sir, can you just log off? Like, people
don't want your help. The people don't want your help. That's fine. Check Bari out on Twitter, on Instagram as well, and cop the book. Thank you, Bari. You've been listening to 3BC with Joy. Your host is Chloe, One Solo, and KC the Alchemist. This is 3BC. Y'all, you ain't got no privacy, so, watch your back.
3BC, recorded at Kudzukian Studios. Directed, produced, and distributed by Kudzukian.
Join the conversation at facebook.com/3BC.